Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Darlene Anderson Alexander. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Sunday Services Team Coordinator today. I'm so glad that you were able to be with us this morning, either here in person or via Zoom, because you are each an essential part of our gathering today. And whether this is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. Together, we create community, the community we so desperately need as we navigate living in this moment. Here at UU Danbury, our beliefs are diverse and inclusive. We have no shared creed, but rather a shared covenant, a covenant that is expressed through the inseparably shared values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, all deeply connected through love. As a congregation, we've been gathering together for over 200 years. And as we work to build a more just world, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building here on Clapboard Ridge Road is on the traditional unceded land of the Pequawset people. Our roots are deep and yet, of course, imperfect. This morning, we are fortunate to welcome Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich back to our pulpit. Linda Susan is a minister, writer, musician, and activist dedicated to radical inclusion, deep collaboration, and courageous kindness. They have served congregations in Connecticut, Michigan, and Minnesota. Linda Susan is a certified spiritual director and identifies as a gender dynamic bisexual person of color. Welcome back, Reverend Linda Susan. For those of you who are here for the first time, let me explain that this congregation is ministerial led by our halftime minister, Reverend Tony Lorenzen. Reverend Tony is on sabbatical now, however, and will return to the pulpit for our in-gathering service on September 7th. This summer, we are fortunate to be led in worship by a variety of lay leaders from our congregation, guest speakers, and our Director of Family Ministry, Sierra Marie Gerfeo. Reverend. Next week, congregant Nancy Hershatter will be reflecting on the legacy of Pete Seeger. We can be sure there will be lots of fabulous music included. We hope you will join us for many services this summer. There are several announcements in your order of service, which you can peruse at your leisure. But I also wanted to add that the Social Action Committee will give an update on their activity at 11:30 over in the front corner. So they would love to have you join them to find out what's going on. For more information, in addition to looking in your order of service, we have our weekly email newsletter and the events calendar on our website at uudanbury.org. We'll give you a complete list of events. Before we begin worship this morning, I invite you to shut off your cell phones and then greet those around you either here in person or using the chat function on Zoom. Good morning. Welcome each other. Good morning. We make this time and this place holy simply by being together. And we begin by lighting our flaming chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Would anybody like to come up and light the chalice? All right. Yeah, absolutely. We can have lots of people. All right, now as they're doing that, we are going to say the words written on the screen. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. And now please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our hymn of welcome, I Wish I Knew How, number 151 in your great hymnal.
I wish I knew how it would feel these chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things I could say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the bars that are I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could do all the things that I do all the time. Like a bird in the sky, how sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Then I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free.
Today's opening words come from the Reverend Julian Jamaico Soto. To be free, you must embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine, eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that inside you are entire universes, milky blue, magenta, and gold, expanding. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise.
Please join me in our children's affirmation. So put your U's up high in the sky. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other.
So if there are any kids who'd like to come up, you are more than welcome. And that includes kids above the age of 18. You can come up if you want. Awesome. Welcome. So today's story is called Colorless Tiger. Once upon a time, there was a colorless tiger. All his shades were grays, blacks, and whites, so much so that he looked like something out of an old black and white movie. His lack of color had made him so famous that the world's greatest painters had come to his zoo to try and put some color on him. None of them succeeded, as the colors would always just drip down off his skin. Then along came Van Gogh, the crazy painter. He was a strange guy who traveled all about, happily painting with his brush. Well, it would be more accurate to say that he moved his brush around as if to paint, because he never put any paint on his brush, and neither did he use canvas or paper. He painted the air, which is why they called him Van Gogh. So when he said he wanted to paint the colors of this tiger, everyone had a good laugh. When entering the tiger's cage, he began whispering in the animal's ear and moving his dry brush up and down the tiger's body. And to everyone's surprise, the animal's skin started to take on color. And these were the most vivid colors any tiger had ever had. Van Gogh spent a long time whispering to the animal and making slight adjustments to his painting. The result was truly beautiful. Everyone wanted to know what the painter's secret was. He explained to them that his brush was only good for painting real life, and that to do that, he needed no colors. He managed to paint the tiger using a phrase he kept whispering in its ear. "In just a few days, you will be free again. You shall see." Seeing how sad the tiger had been in his captivity, and how joyful the tiger seemed at the prospect of freedom, the zoo authorities transported him to the forest and set him free, where never again would he lose his color. The end. Thank you.
So formal classes for children and youth are not meeting during the summer. However, there is childcare available for any children who do not wish to remain in the service downstairs. So you're welcome to go down there or bring your kiddos down there. But we're still going to sing the first verse of hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you. So now is the time in our service when we share the milestones of our lives with one another. It is a time of coming together as a community in quiet contemplation, a time when we can offer healing and hope, and a time for giving thanks and offering gratitude for blessings great and small. When we give our time and energy to the work of this congregation, and when we donate to its financial support, we are giving gifts to each other. Each one gives to and receives gifts from all of our members and friends. And together we give to the community around us, both financially and via our food collection for Dorothy Day Hospitality House. To give electronically this morning, you may use the QR code that is projected on the screen, and you may also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Claphard Ridge Road in Danbury. The offering will now be gratefully received and food donations will be collected. Thank you for your generosity. Today's reading is To All Get Free Together by social justice educator and author Chris Crass. To become an anti-racist faith community, the key question for a white or white majority community is not, how do we get people of color to join our faith community? It is instead, how can we make a prolonged, spiritually rooted, engaged commitment to uprooting white supremacy within our community and take ongoing collective action to challenge it in society? Our goal is not to have white people sit alongside a person of color so as to affirm that those white people aren't racist. Our goal is to build and be part of beloved community, united to end structural oppression and unleash collective liberation in our faith communities, our schools, neighborhoods, workplaces, and throughout society. Our goal is to join hands across the divisions of racism in our faith and in our communities and affirm the humanity in each other. Our goal is to join our hearts and minds to the task of destroying white supremacy in every worldview, policy, law, institution, and governing body of our society. For our faith communities to be places of healing from the nightmare of racism that haunts people of color and white people. For our faith communities to be places of nourishment, sustaining the multiracial struggles of our people to advance economic, racial, and gender justice. For our faith communities to be part of the continual process of working within the movement as part of the journey to end oppression in society. For our faith communities to raise our children of all backgrounds to be freedom fighters and practitioners of liberation values. Our goal is for our faith communities to be spiritually alive, learning from and contributing to liberation cultures and legacies. For our faith communities to be welcoming homes for people of all colors, sexualities, classes, ages, abilities, genders, and citizenship statuses. For our faith communities to regularly invite us into and prepare us for courageous action for collective liberation, held in loving community for the long haul. May our faith community be an active agent in the world to help us all get free together.
Before we begin, When I was a kid, I distinctly remember trying to imagine infinity. Often I'd think about the vastness of space and wonder what our expanding universe was expanding into. Other times I'd picture a number line extending in opposite directions. I'd relax my mind and let the ends float as far outward as I could, hoping to get a felt sense of the infinite. The first time I experienced what I call music with a capital M, I was in ninth grade. I played the flute solo in Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 5. We were an impressive group of high school instrumentalists, and the violin soloist, keyboardist, and I wove and danced around each other and the rest of the chamber ensemble with our parts. I felt as though my spirit rose out of my body, held aloft by this glorious music. It was transcendent. Speaking of Brandenburg, when I lived in Germany for a year during high school, I had a chance to visit Berlin before the wall fell. At one point, we went near the Brandenburg Gate, which was heavily guarded. We weren't even allowed to get out of the tour bus we were on. Fast forward a few years, at which point reunification had happened, and I visited a friend who lived in what had been East Berlin while he was attending university. So while he was in class, I had the chance to walk around and explore. And I realized that I wasn't constrained this time by the divide between East and West. I could turn and walk in whatever direction I wanted. I had such a deep, visceral sense of freedom, which was only heightened when I came upon the Brandenburg Gate and could walk right through it unimpeded. 30 plus years ago, I was in a bi support group, and one of the people I'd gotten to know told us that he was transitioning from male to female. She wasn't the first trans person I'd known, but was possibly the first person I knew during their transition. And for a while, my brain didn't want to make the shift, and I somewhat stubbornly dead named her for a little while. That is, I called her by the male name I'd first learned. Soon enough, I realized I was being a jerk and stopped, but I felt ashamed of myself. Then many, many years later, she and I were walking somewhere, and I said, "I owe you an apology," and described my less than stellar behavior. To my great relief, she hadn't even noticed, but she appreciated the apology nonetheless. By owning the truth of what I'd done, I felt a burden lifted from my heart after all those years. Each of these stories reflects different ways of becoming more free in mind, spirit, body, and emotions. What are some of the ways you might find more freedom? Is there a burden you've been carrying? Someone whose forgiveness you need, or someone you're ready to forgive? Do you find freedom in running or dancing or floating in water? What expands your mind until it's steeped in awe? What expands your heart until it overflows with love? I want to invite you to try something with me. Find a comfortable way to sit. Maybe close your eyes if you want. And take a nice, relaxed breath and let it out slowly. If you find yourself thinking about a particular burden, place it on the ground next to you. You can always pick it up later if you need it. Take another relaxed breath. If your brain is all over the place, imagine turning down the volume on the chatter. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're just not listening to the hubbub right now. Now picture a stream of light emerging from the top of your head. How far up can you follow it? Take one more relaxed breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. How was that? I'm hoping you got to experience at least a moment when you felt more free than before. Sometimes freedom begins with telling ourselves different stories about who we are. The documentary The Prison Within follows several men convicted of murder who participate in the Victim Offender Education Group, a restorative justice project at San Quentin Prison. The 18-month program, quote, supports incarcerated individuals in the process of understanding and developing insight into the underlying circumstances of their lives and the choices that led them to prison, unquote, particularly unresolved trauma. The men learn to shift the narrative so that they separate their actions from their being. They learn to see themselves as more than just their crimes. For these men, deep accountability can feel liberating, even while their bodies are still incarcerated. Of course, as important as individual freedom is, it's meaningless unless others are also becoming free and systems of oppression are getting dismantled. For example, the restorative circles not only heal the men participating in them, but also the families and communities they're going back to by stopping the cycle of violence. As we heard in today's call to worship by Reverend Julian Jamaico Soto, to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. That's why I have this tattoo on my left forearm, which shows 3 phases in the life of a dandelion, and floating away from the puff are seeds that spell out liberation. The word collective didn't make it into the final design, but I know it's there. I wanted the goal of liberation and a reminder of the feeling that accompanies it, always in front of me. In his 1999 Berry Street essay, Reverend Thomas Owen Toole lamented Unitarian Universalists' tendency to deify freedom over community, solitariness over solidarity, private quest over beloved community, calling self-sufficiency a disease that infects the entire UU commonweal. The Cambridge Platform of 1648, the document that lays out much of the congregational polity we still use, specifies that yes, congregations are self-governing with no hierarchies among them, but also that congregations should aid and support each other, especially when one of them is struggling. For Owen Toole, freedom isn't an end in itself, but an instrument to be used for some greater purpose. For Chris Crass, an American Unitarian Universalist organizer whose words we heard in this morning's reading, that greater purpose is collective liberation. One of the ways we learn how to get free together is by practicing right here in this congregation. Our goal, he writes, is for our faith communities to be spiritually alive, learning from and contributing to liberation cultures and legacies. For our faith communities to regularly invite us into and prepare us for courageous action for collective liberation, held in loving community for the long haul. What do you think it would feel like If everyone got to experience an internal sense of freedom that's also accountable to the community? What if fear and trauma no longer ruled people's actions? What if the only suffering we experienced was the kind common to all human beings? What if joy and ease were the default? Can you sense what that kind of liberation would feel like in your body? Can you free your mind enough to consider that it's possible? If you find yourself thinking, yes, but what if you turned down the volume on those thoughts for now? These kinds of liberating transformations are no pipe dream. Those men in San Quentin experienced them. I've experienced them myself. We live in a world that tends towards healing when given half a chance. Our task is to create those chances in as many places as we can. There's a famous quote from a group of Aboriginal rights activists in Queensland. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. Let's you and I work together, friends, for the liberation of all beings. Amen, and blessed be.
Okay. I thought Jerry was going to play for a minute.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. And let's rise in body or spirit and join in singing our hymn of celebration, number 83, Winds Be Still.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with our harmony. Fly bird of hope and shine light of love, and in calm of heart birds fly high, lift our gaze to distant view, help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and easy to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view, help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full symphony.
Friends, we come together to practice the tools we need to love each other, to love this world, to bring liberation to all beings, including ourselves. May this congregation continue to do this holy work. May we practice every Sunday together whether we're here in this room or not. Let us go now with courage and with kindness and be a blessing to the world. Amen.